Welcome, and thank you for joining The Logic of It All with your host, Reverend Gary Essex Sprunger. Hello. Glad you could sit in on the conversation. We left off the last time we were together knowing that more had to be said about abortion and infanticide. There are stories surfacing about those who struggle with sexual identity psychologically as well as physically. In addition to the sadness of their struggles, there are reports of how others treat them in their state of confusion and emotional exhaustion. There are incidents of bullying and being laughed at by their peers. And on top of that, many parents have a difficult time dealing with the situation. Every parent wants a healthy, normal child. And when a child has sex identification issues, or even worse, a real physical genital disorder, and their parents cannot be understanding and supportive, that makes life brutal. The child dealing with sexual identity issues must have support. That's what Love Your Neighbor is all about. It's all about. Just as you would want others to understand you, you must be understanding of them. We have a long way to go in how we treat others. Sometimes in school, children treat others without mercy. There often is a dark pleasure in beating someone who's already down to drive them down even further. We've lost respect for other humans and are so far away from really knowing a human life as a sacred life. Kids can treat other kids terribly. Adults can reduce another to the lowest level of self-esteem. Our bad choices are those that affect another human. There needs to be compassion among us so that we can help, guide, and assist a person to reach their Creator-given potential. We can start by not bullying or ridiculing a child or young person that's struggling with their identity. Better counseling is needed for them and their parents. And just as importantly, their teachers, who spend more quality hours with students during school years than many parents do. The child struggling with an identity crisis is a child of God, as we all are, and is entitled to having self-respect as they struggle, finding their way to who they truly are. And when that is found, they should be able to pursue their life recognized as a child of God, not carrying a categorized label. Some of us have better luck with what we have received physically, psychologically, mentally from heredity, more so than what others have. But the constant in our lives is our soul. This is the center in the sacred human. The ability to do good, choose good over self-centeredness. It's there within our soul. We have the ability to do good for others. If we do something that is hurtful to another human, a sacred life, then we have sinned against that person. Logically, we can only sin against God indirectly by sinning against others, another child of God, another sacred life. And since we have the capability to sin against a child of God, that means that we can also sin against ourselves, since each of us is a child of God. We do so by choices made, overindulgences in all categories of living that harm or hinder our bodies and mind, preventing our reaching our Creator-given potential. Our bad choices are those that affect another human as well as ourselves. We sin against those we see. How much easier is it to sin against those we do not see? The people on the other side of the water on another continent. Right now it's happening all over again. We've been told they are the enemy, and they have been told we are the enemy. And the powers of both sides have the power to command us to kill one another. With technology in this millennium, we can now see that some of them are doing some things to others. Each of us, we and they, have loved ones, children, family, dreams, goals, potentials to reach, and yet we are directed to kill them, and they are directed to kill us. We don't see each other face to face or daily in the news, but we know they're living their lives as we do. Some of us have traveled over there and seen them, laughed with them, had beer and wine together. But the majority of us have not seen them face to face, human to human. And what about the others we don't see? The helpless one in the womb. The one who also can have loved ones, family, friends, dreams and goals, and a potential to reach. We've known they are there, and now with the help of science through ultrasound, we can see them and watch them develop. And if there's a weakness, like a defective heart, we can operate on that little human and correct what could hinder that sacred life from reaching its creator-given potential. But there are women who do not want that little life to interfere with theirs and argue it's her body and she has the right to live her life the way she wants. It is her body, but that includes what's developing in her womb. And that brings up the issue, what's to become of that little developing human being? Should life be terminated by her decision, and when? When is the operative word. When does life begin? When there's a heartbeat? When there is conception? When is it not infanticide? When does the little being experience pain? We have to begin somewhere in this discussion. There are divisions in the country about when life begins. But there have been published articles indicating that 80% of the population believes biologists are the ones best qualified to determine when life begins, not a politician or a mother. A study with over 5,000 biologists from over 1,000 universities resulted in 95% agreeing that life begins at fertilization. Their reasoning: cell division cannot take place if there's no life there. And this is supported with the Northwestern University team being able to photograph a light. A fluorescent emitted light appeared when the enzyme of a sperm came in contact with the human egg. It's against federal law to experiment with an entire sperm, so only an enzyme of the sperm was used. Is that the spark of life we've heard about? Others argue that there's no life there until there is a heartbeat. In the first trimester, week 5, cardiac tissue begins to contract, and a faint beat can be seen on ultrasound. At week 6, the heart tube forms an S shape and a fluttering beat can be heard. At week 7, pumping chambers begin to develop and the beat sounds stronger. And at week 8, the heart valves are formed. And at week 9, the aorta and pulmonary vein is formed so that by week 10, the fetal heart is now fully in place. Next, there's a very difficult issue to confront because it's the most difficult to pinpoint in the development of human life. And it addresses both ethics and morality of the medical profession as well as the mothers. And that is, when does a developing life in the womb experience pain? This is important because fetal surgery can be done to improve a baby's life. And in the case of abortion, it can end that life. Up until the 1980s, abortions were done with anesthesia for the mother alone in most cases. But since the heart of a fetus can now be surgically repaired, it's been demonstrated that the once believed anesthesia for the mother being sufficient for the baby in the womb is now seen as not being effective in sparing the fetus from reacting to what is called noxious stimuli. The debate about the fetus feeling pain began in the 80s. And to this day, there is no consensus when the unborn feels pain. Is it pain that is remembered? Does the pain cause a physical reaction? Does the fetus need a spinal cord to transmit the presence of a noxious stimuli? Does the cortex of the brain need to be fully developed? Does the fetus need a brain to receive the message of a noxious stimuli? And when in the development of the baby does this apply? Prior to 1980, a study in the UK concluded there is no fetal pain prior to a developed cortex, the gray matter of your brain, until 24 weeks of development. The U.S. American College of Gynecologists and Obstetricians and the Society of Fetal Medicine state fetal pain is not structurally possible until at least 24 to 25 weeks of development, and cannot be conscious of pain until the third trimester, 28 weeks, and cannot feel pain until late in the third trimester. But now it's being demonstrated that at just the beginning of the nerve fiber development, 7 weeks, there is a reaction to a heel prick with increased heart rate and oxygen saturation. If the fetus is receiving treatment at that stage of development at 7 weeks, and there are several needle pricks for health procedures, there's growing evidence of a possible long-term effect in the development of the nervous system. There needs to be more study on that long-term effect. At 14 weeks, a university study by Hooker Humphrey observed whole body movement away from a noxious stimuli. Physician testimony before hearing stated there is fetal withdrawal and flailing during feticide prior to 18 weeks development. Reaction to pain becomes more pronounced as a fetus develops. At 20 to 24 weeks, it can be seen in facial expression. In 2016, the American Academy of Pediatrics states the denial of fetal pain capacity as early as 8 to 12 weeks is no longer acceptable. Those supporting abortion do not acknowledge a need for pain blockers to the fetus or anesthesia. Abortion rights supporters quote Roe stating, the fetus is not a person protected by the 14th Amendment, and therefore the ability to feel pain does not warrant further consideration. Does not warrant further consideration. At abortion, they only support anesthesia for the mother's comfort, saying that the fetal anesthesia and pain blockers to the fetus are unnecessary procedures and risks to the pregnant woman, and that outweighs any temporary pain that may be experienced by the fetus during abortion. To say it like it is, why sedate the growth when it's going to die anyway? Those proponents even object to using terminology such as baby or fetus during pre-abortion counseling with the mother because they do not want to give the fetus human status, which might make the woman feel guilty and change her mind. Those favoring abortion rights support taking that life as late as the third trimester. And there are some supporting abortion as late as at birth, and some immediately after birth. That is infanticide. When abortion happens early in maturity, in the first trimester, it's called feticide. Just 3 years ago, 2021, the American Society of Anesthesiologists and North American Fetal Therapy Network's consensus statement reads, because it remains uncertain exactly when a fetus has the capacity to feel pain, it is best to administer fetal anesthesia in all invasive maternal fetal procedures. Now, you would think that when some 318 bishops, responding to the call to attend a worldwide call for a council in Nicaea in 325 AD. With their knowledge consisted of myths, legends, superstitions, belief in mythological gods, which became a belief in one God, and by using the scriptures as their guide, they defined the Trinity, which we follow today: God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That was nearly 1,700 years ago. Now surely, in this day of scientific knowledge and reasoning, the leaders of all Christian denominations should be called to a council to define when there is human life, when there is pain in that developing human life, and whether or not, or when, or if, under differing circumstances, abortion is acceptable. When researching about abortion, I learned the reported abortion number averages between 900,000 and 1 million abortions a year in the United States. Worldwide, the number is staggering, about 73 million abortions a year, according to the World Health Organization. And of those, 6 out of 10 were because of unintended pregnancy, using it as birth control. According to Statista, which deals with the statistics in the United States, legal abortions from 1973 to 2021 numbered over 42.5 million abortion deaths in less than half a century. In recent years, most physical abortions occur within the first trimester, 12 weeks. And when an established heartbeat senses pain, the method used mostly is suction, and that draws out the fetus from the womb. It is recognizable as a developing human, and the limbs are still in the cartilage stage. That means the fetus is torn apart by the suction and pulled out. All body parts, limb by limb. All this brought a memory of visions of photographs after World War II that showed bodies of Jews piled up, killed during the Holocaust by the Nazis. Nearly 6 million Jews were massacred. And when the result of a vacuum abortion is dumped into a pan, and you see the little one you could not see, there are pieces, be it in a death camp or in an abortion clinic. The realization of how barbaric humans can be is overwhelming. Fortunately, we're out of time. The coffee's cold, but what does that matter? Have a good rest of your day, and exude some sunshine tomorrow. God knows the world needs it. Thank you for following The Logic of It All and the Hope for a Christian Reformation. If you have followed since episode 1, you're welcome to the website, thelogicofitall.com. Join us again for much, much more in The Logic of It All.